The Nike Free RN Flyknit. Is this a real proper running shoe, or is it one of those shoes that a lot of people just term as a runner? So to clarify the difference between a proper running shoe and a runner is often described as really a fashion shoe that looks like a running shoe, but it's more about the looks than it actually being a proper running shoe. And so to me, I was kind of thinking before I started running in this shoe that this is probably a runner. It looks like a running shoe, kind of, but are you really a running shoe? Well, I've done a few miles in it now, and I've kind of changed most of my position on this. But let's get into the basics. So this is a road shoe. It's very much a neutral kind of minimalist shoe because there is not a whole lot of shoe. I mean, it's super duper light. In my size, a UK 11, oh, and by the way, this is true to size, true to fit, fits fantastic. You're looking at only 260 grams. I mean, that's very, very light, which translates into 9¼ ounces. Now, one of the reasons it is so light is when you look at the Flyknit upper, there is, well, look, I mean, it kind of, there's not much here. I mean, it's very clever technology as a casual shoe, it is super comfortable. You know, I have worn this a lot casually. I've worn it a lot more casually than I have running it. I have done a good few miles in it, but it was kind of just, you chuck it on casually and it is very, very good at that. But that's not why we're here. No. It also has a 8mm heel to toe drop. In terms of the outsole, well, there's not much of one really. There's a little bit of rubber here and there's a tiny little bit of rubber on the heel there, but really the midsole is the outsole, which is your traditional kind of Nike foam. And flexibility wise, my goodness, it is just super, super flexible. And I kind of like that. I mean, this shoe does have quite a unique feel when you're running with it because it is so minimalist and so lightweight. You get a very good feeling from the ground about what's going on. So it does have a certain charm. But let's get into what's great and what's not so great. Things that I find great about the shoe, as I say, the road feel, by not having your normal traditional amount of rubber on the outsole, you get a great feel for what is going on underneath your feet. You will feel when the tarmac or the asphalt changes and when it's a bit craggy and everything that's going on, you will feel it, but you'll feel it in a way that's not particularly intrusive. You don't feel stuff coming through the shoe. The cushioning works, but yeah, it's interesting because it is so flexible. It will move around with the ground, which can be a positive and a negative, which we shall come on to. But yeah, interesting, lively, kind of snappy kind of ride, because I do think this has that kind of more responsive kind of ride as well. The upper, as I mentioned earlier, super comfortable. I thought I was going to get some heel slip or movement, but actually I didn't. It did actually stick with my feet really well. I didn't find I had to do anything. I didn't have to pull down on the laces so it was super tight. I just put it on and it worked and it was very comfortable. And I didn't get any hot spots. It's quite good ventilation as well. So it actually sort of runs, I wouldn't say cool, but you can wear this in different weathers. I mean, I wouldn't want to wear it in atrocious weather. If it was pouring down with rain, I definitely would not put this on. But on those sort of hotter days, not that we've got many at the moment at the time of filming, but yeah, it just works. It's very comfy. No hassles, no issues, just very smooth. Surprisingly good grip as well from the outsole. Wasn't sliding, didn't get any issues, didn't get any traction concerns. I haven't really put this through like a really harsh test because you kind of look at the shoe and you look at the lack of outsole and the general construction of it, and I don't think this is a shoe that screams, yeah, I'll take on anything. I don't get that vibe from this shoe. But for your normal, general runs, your normal training runs, yeah, no slip, no hassles, no issues. But it's not all beer and barbecues. What are the things that maybe aren't so great? Well, going back to that point about ground feel and feel that everything's going on. It's kind of a double-edged sword because yes, you do feel what's going on, but you also feel when the ground is a bit craggy or a bit broken, this shoe will kind of go in with all of those crags and all that movement. And because this upper is very kind of flexible, one could say if we was being harsh, insubstantial, but let's go with flexible, it will kind of just go wherever. What happens with the ground, the shoe's just going to go with it. And you don't feel that it sort of holds you securely because it is so flexible, the upper and the midsole / outsole. You just kind of get movement in ways that you wouldn't normally expect movement. On a smooth, straight run, it's fine, and you're sort of blissfully unaware of that. But some places along where I run, it can get quite broken, the pavement. And as I say, craggy, and it's probably because I live by the, I live by the sea, and the water gets in, and the salt, and everything else, and it breaks everything up. And then you're kind of aware that your foot, things are happening with your foot that you don't normally feel in other running shoes. You do feel in this, and you feel that it kind of sometimes is going places that you don't want it to go. And I also find that if you want to do any sort of sharp turns, again, your foot can kind of lean in ways that a normal shoe would hold it in place. And this shoe does not, which is, it's okay if you're aware of it, but it means its operating window is maybe a little bit smaller than some other shoes. Another concern I've got is durability, whereas so far for me this is holding up okay. There is lots of chatter on the internet that people are finding that sometimes they flatten out a little bit early, that they are having issues with durability, and there's enough talk where you think, yeah, it doesn't feel like this is a shoe that would last forever. Okay, so I don't look at this and think, yeah, you can run 2 or 3 or 400 or however many hundreds of miles. I just don't see this shoe being a shoe that's going to last hundreds and hundreds of miles. You probably get some reasonable mileage out of it, but I don't think this is a real long-term grindy shoe. Which kind of brings me on to another point, is that it actually says on the Nike website that this shoe is ideal for short runs. So you kind of think, so what you're saying then is it's not ideal for long runs, which is a sentiment that I would happen to agree with. Yeah, I found when I tried to run, say, longer than 10k, 6 miles in this, it just wasn't working for me. When I was getting onto my forefoot, I found that I wanted a little bit more cushioning there. It just didn't feel good after that kind of distance. I found I just wanted a bit more shoe and a bit more comfort. So for shorter runs, yeah, and here, this is the kind of the rub with the shoe, because you could say, okay, I'll just use it for shorter runs. Well, that's fine. But then why don't you just buy a shoe that does shorter and longer runs? Nike make some shoes that are great for shorter and longer runs, whereas this, to me, is really not good for longer runs. So really it kind of comes down to, what do you want a shoe to do? If you're someone who's lucky enough to have a few pairs of shoes and you want to get a pair of shoes which you can wear casually and then go for a run, so if you're out over at a friend's for a weekend and you're going to get up early and go for a run before everyone else does, and then you're going to come back and have a barbecue or something, and you only want to take one pair of shoes and you want that shoe to look cool whilst you're with your friends and be fine to run with, then this is an excellent choice. This totally fulfills that brief. And if you want a casual shoe that you might dip in if you're not someone who does tons of running, and when you do, your runs tend to be of maybe a slightly shorter nature than other people's, then again, this could be great. You can wear it casually, you can go for those shorter runs. Awesome, no problem. If you are someone who is more of a hardcore runner and you want to crank out some serious mileage, I'd probably stick with this more of a casual shoe. As a casual shoe, it is fantastic, and you've got to say, it does look really cool. I personally feel this is possibly, I'm going to say the coolest looking running shoe I've got. I mean, it's such an innovative sort of styling. It just, yeah, and it is so comfortable to wear casually. So my initial kind of question to myself, is it a proper running shoe or is it just a runner? I'm somewhere in the middle now. Yes, it is kind of a proper running shoe, but with limited scope, if you like. There are many running shoes that you can buy that will do an awful lot more and have a lot more flexibility, not physical flexibility, but the breadth of the different things that you can do and runs that you can do than this will. But it is still quite a snazzy looking shoe. So it kind of depends on what you want from a shoe. I'm going to grade it as 4 stars because I like it. I think in that specific window of smart, funky looking shoe that you can do short runs with, which I think was probably the brief the kind of the general thing that Nike was going for it. I think it pretty much hits that mark. But as an all-round proper running shoe, there are better options. So yeah, I'm gonna go with 4 stars. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.